Well, hello and welcome to African News on Voice of the People TV. I am David Edwin. Before we begin the news, we would urge you to kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending stories. We begin the African news with the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda in a mediation by Angola has signed an important peace document aimed at addressing the ongoing conflict in eastern DR Congo. The document comes amid continued violations of a ceasefire by the M23 militia, which has been active in the region since 2021, displacing thousands and worsening the humanitarian crisis. Since 2021, the M23 militia, supported by Rwanda and predominantly composed of ethnic Tutsi, has captured large areas in eastern DR Congo. Despite a fragile ceasefire brokered by Angola in August, the M23 resumed offensive actions in late October, further complicating the situation. In response, Angola facilitated a diplomatic effort to keep communications channels open between the DRC and Rwanda. This led to the creation of a committee in early November to monitor ceasefire violations with representatives from both countries and led by Angola. Despite the ongoing violations, diplomatic dialogue between the two nations continues, underscoring the ongoing efforts to stabilize the region and address the humanitarian crisis. Moving on, Human Rights Watch has accused Mozambique security forces of killing at least 10 children and injuring dozens of others while trying to suppress weeks of protests following a disputed presidential election. The rights group said security forces detained hundreds of other minors, some of them for days in violation of international law since election results were announced a month ago. The Southern African country has been beset by unrest after the ruling party's candidate was declared the winner of the October 9th election, despite the opposition's claims of fraud and international observers' criticism of the vote, including a team from the European Union. Mozambican authorities have not given out details on how many people have been killed or detained in the protest, but said some of the demonstrators turned violent and had to be quelled by security forces. Daniel Chapo was announced the election winner on October the 24th, extending the front for the liberation of Mozambique's party's unbroken half-century rule since independence from Portugal in 1975. Chapo is said to succeed President Filipe Nyusi, who has served the minimum 2 terms. And from there, we move on to Ghana, where the National Democratic Congress Majority Caucus in the Ghana's parliament has called on the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, to reject the recall request made by members of Parliament from the New Patriotic Party, that's the MP. In a memo submitted, on Monday, 25th November, and signed by their leader, Dr. Kasser Atto Forson, the caucus argued that the request failed to meet the necessary constitutional and procedural requirements set out in Article 112, Paragraph 3, and Standing Order 53, Paragraph 1 of Parliament. Dr. Forson contended that the MPs call for a recall did not satisfy the required threshold for such a request. He stressed that any recall must adhere to specific legal criteria, which in this case had not been met. The National Democratic Congress caucus leader further emphasized that the discretion to approve or reject the recall lies with the Speaker, particularly since the necessary threshold had not been reached. In his memo, Dr. Forson urged Speaker Bagbin to exercise his discretion and reject the MP's petition, arguing that the request was inconsistent with Parliament's standing orders and that there were no compelling reasons to justify the urgent reconvening of the House. Still in Ghana, the National Commission for Civic Education, that's the NCCE, has confirmed that the voting day for the 2024 Ghana's presidential and parliamentary election remains Saturday, December the 7th, 2024, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. It urged the public to disregard a circulating video on social media that falsely claims the voting days for presidential candidates have been scheduled separately. A statement issued by NCCE chairperson Kathleen Adi dismissed the video as misleading and emphasized that there is only one voting day for both presidential and parliamentary elections. All qualified presidential candidates will appear on a single ballot, and voters will cast their ballots for their preferred candidates in both races. The NCCE praised the Ghana Police Service for a swift response in addressing the matter, highlighting the importance of holding those spreading false information accountable, as the Commission reiterated its commitment to intensifying civic and voter education to ensure citizens are well informed ahead of the December 7th elections. The NCC called on the public to verify information before sharing, stressing that disinformation poses a significant threat to democracy. Still in Ghana, in a move to boost healthcare services in Ghana, President Nana Akufo-Addo has officially commissioned 4 out of the 5 40-bed district hospitals in the Ashanti region. The newly inaugurated hospitals are located in Dromboso, Sambrunum, Twedi, and Swame municipal area. These hospitals are part of a 2020 initiative launched by Health Minister Kwaku Agyeman Manu, aimed at constructing 12 district hospitals across the Ashanti, Eastern, and Greater in the Brong Ahafo region. Each facility is equipped with modern amenities, including residential accommodation for staffs, outpatient departments, consulting rooms, public health departments, surgical suites, maternity wards, and pediatric and male and female wards. President Akufo-Addo emphasized the importance of proper administration and maintenance of the facility to ensure the government's commitment to improving healthcare across the country is fulfilled. And from Ghana, we move straight to Kenya, where officers of the police Kenya have used tear gas to disperse a peaceful march in Nairobi, commemorating the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Protesters later spoke out against the reaction by security forces and highlighted what they say is a lack of government action. Nairobi residents Waitara Karanja said they want accountability. Kenyan police agencies say there have been 97 cases of femicides in various parts of the country in the last 3 months alone, but activists say many more go unreported. Last week, Kenyan President William Ruto condemned the alarming rise in femicide cases and urged collective efforts to protect women from gender-based violence. Well, joining us now to make sense of these stories and more is Barrister Darlington Agumo, Voice of the People TV's in-house political analyst and a barrister by law. Barrister, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, David. How are you?
Fine, very well, thank you. How are you doing also, Barrister?
I'm okay.
All right, let's get to it immediately. Now, there's been some interesting stories making the round, and DRC, that's DR Congo, and Rwanda has just signed a peace pact with Angola, mediating over the ongoing conflict that is presently in that country. Is this peace pact in any way going to see some level of ceasefire? What does it do to the government in power?
That is the best form of democratic activities. That is the best form of attracting the attention of the government to the ease of the society. That is the best form of, drawing attention to the abuse of rule of law
But then
by the bad government.
But then why isn't the government not getting and of course giving their attention to this call by the protesters? Just opposing it to Nigeria, that we have seen quite a number of protesters being clamped down, of course being charged with treasonable felony.
I have told you that a bad government will always use this type of method to intimidate and threaten the people because they have nothing to offer. A government that is democratic, a government that obeys and respects the rule of law, will not go through this route. Go and check. Every dictator, their hallmark is brute force. They believe they can use brute force to deal with you. Instead of engaging you in a dialogue, in a conversation,
Yes.
they find it very awkward to talk, or discuss anything with you because they don't see you as important. Rather, they will use the state power to make you surrender and submit to them. And that is not democracy. That's the difference.
Interesting, Barrister. But as it stands, over 10 persons, 10 children have been killed as a result of this.
That's not the actual figure.
Well,
One of the things that happened in this type of situation is that truth became the first casualty. Truth is the first casualty in a situation of this nature because the government wouldn't want to give you the correct and accurate figure to avoid embarrassment. Much more have been killed. That's forgiving.
now, as it stands, Barrister, why isn't the government in power asking the opposition to go to court and, of course, get their case addressed in court? Because from the European Union, the observers, international observers, did say that election was marred by some irregularities. And some persons have also said this election was not the way it was supposed to go. Now, if that is the situation, why isn't the government and why is African leaders consistently doing this? If you get to election, it does not favor you. You use brute force, like you did mention, to make the people get silence of not defending what they feel was wrongly done to them. Why do African leaders do this?
Because that is the only strength they have. They don't have what it takes to run a country, So they believe that by using this brute force, you are going to respect and worship them. That's the truth. They believe that when they use this type of method, it will give them upper hand. It will make the people to fear and respect them. But that is not democracy. If not, the Western world would have banned it in their governance approach. But you know very well that the Western world, protest is the name of the game. Whenever they don't want anything government is doing, they go on protest. Here is like a criminal offense. I'm telling you. Sorry
about that.
It's like a criminal offense in Africa, where leaders don't tolerate, protests or opposition and all that. Meanwhile, you claim to be a democracy. These are the contradictions. Some civilian administration or democratic administration here, they are worse than the military.
But Barrister, as it stands, looking at this country, Mozambique, its fiscal deficit, it was projected in 2024 as to be widened to 3.4% of GDP, and narrowing it, of course, to 1.3% in 2025. It's not like the country is doing any badly, but the people are saying this particular man isn't our choice, and they are going ahead to protest. The role of protesting when it comes to elections, isn't it a bit more fair that the people uses it to speak their opinion? Or is there another means that the people can use to really make their statements known to the leadership of the country?
Yes, the only way, like I told you, to show your grievances is to go and protest so that government can look into your complaints. It's better than carrying arms. It is only when this method has failed that people now go underground
Okay.
and start doing what those guerrilla people used to do. So, if you ask me, it is in the interest of government to see an opposition that will protest and then point to the thing they are doing wrong. Because when you are in government, the power of incumbency will declare your sense of judgment.
Okay.
You will not see things clearly. It is the opposition that will point out your misdeeds and the wrong steps you are taking and call you back to order. But in Africa, it's, like I said, it's like a criminal offense. You saw what they did to our children here who went on protest. They even raised the bar to
Treasonable felony.
Treasonable felony. Small children. So that will tell you how bad it is. You know, how bad it is.
Now,
these people will come out tomorrow and be shouting that they are Democrats.
okay, that part really got me when they say they are Democrats. But then some quarters have said the opposition is the one that is fueling this protest. And of course, because Mozambique isn't doing badly economically, just like I said, in their GDP is widened to 3.4% when it comes to its growth. Do you also share this opinion that the opposition can sponsor some of these protesters, which of course might be making them get to this level of unrest in the country?
The question is, what is an opposition supposed to do? To be clapping with you or be laughing with you? No. They are supposed to do what they are doing. If the government have committed any infraction, it is the opposition that will go to the street and protest about it. Okay. That's their job. If they keep quiet, the government will think that they are doing very well. It's okay, opposition, yes. Apparently, they would have warned and talked, but the government remained adamant.
Yeah.
The only thing is to enter the street. So, I'm not surprised if the opposition are sponsoring the protest. I'm not surprised.
Well, looking at the fact that opposition sponsors such protests, we also bring it back to Nigeria, where the ruling party and, of course, the present administration did say that the opposition seemed to be toothless, but consistently talk about an economy that they are not aware of. Do you share this opinion as well? Because the likes of Bayo Onanuga have also said the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, does not have a full understanding of what the economy is presently about. Do you share that opinion?
You see, Bayo Onanuga can say what he likes, but he should not forget that this Atiku was in government for 16 years under PDP.
Right.
So what is he now saying?
Is there the possibility that economy between the last 16 years and now is widely different, and Bayo Onanuga might be right when he said Atiku Abubakar does not have a hands-on what the economy is about? Is that the possibility?
I don't think so. Bayo Onanuga missed the point. Because I think under Obasanjo Atiku was in charge of the economy. Even the privatization that took place. Yes. Atiku was in charge. You know, he was in charge of selling those government, properties and all that. Okay. And companies. So, if Atiku is not a good manager, he wouldn't have managed most of his business that is on record. In fact, as the last time I checked, he was the highest employer of labor in Adamawa. Atiku. He was the highest employer of labor in the whole of Adamawa. So, why do you want to discountenance that? In fact, the man has been making suggestions to APC. He has been making suggestions. So, why wouldn't Bayo Onanuga recognize that? That somebody is bringing something to the table, something you people could not do. And you want to overlook it. Wouldn't
that be seen as the administration not having her own blueprint in terms of economic upturn?
Yes, they didn't have.
You think they don't?
If they have, there won't be a policy somersault. Most of the policy Tinubu have brought on board, he had reversed them. When he discovered that it's not workable under this current dispensation, he had reversed all of them. It's just that shame will not allow them to come out boldly and say it. They reversed all the way through the back door.
All right, Barrister, let's come back to this conversation with the security agents in Mozambique killing at least 10. how very inhumane can these thoughts be? Children. I mean, the security agencies did claim that they were not civil enough within the protest space, but taking the lives of young people who, of course, are the future of that country. And you did mention that that figure seemed to be so incorrect. It might be even more. How very inhumane can the security forces be as against the young persons in Mozambique?
David, I don't know how old you are, but if you remember that people like Mobutu Sese Seko in this same Congo DR, if you remember that somebody like Emperor Bokassa of Central African Republic,
yes,
the man his people called the butcher. You know, when a president is nicknamed the butcher, that will tell you how brutal that man was. They did not have the likes of Idi Amin of Uganda. So when you hear the story of these despots, you will not know that taking life is like a tea party. They don't take prisoners, so they don't.
Quite an unfortunate one.
Very unfortunate.
Linking it to the fact that even in Nigeria, the 32 that were arrested in the in Abuja, and of course arraigned and given the so barrister, I wanted to find out before I go further, treasonable felony. How huge is this offense?
I think it's the highest offense you can commit against your state. It carries capital punishment. Most times it is trying to overthrow the government in power.
Now let's bring it into the perspective now. These 32 young persons that were arrested by security operatives in Nigeria while they were protesting, do you think in any way those young persons can carry out such offense?
I don't see them doing such a thing. It's just that the government in power is paranoid. Any slightest opposition approach, they see it as somebody want to take, the power they have. Yeah, it's just fear of your known, fear of that oneself. That's all. Okay. Because if this government is very focused, they won't even bother with such a youthful exuberance. They will go ahead with what they are doing and then let people see results. I remember Jonathan, no matter what you protested, he didn't arrest anybody. Not to talk of placing a treasonable felony on your head.
Oh, well, let's get to another conversation, barrister. The National Democratic Congress of Ghana, the majority caucus of that party, and that's about the opposition party in Ghana. They've called on the Speaker of the Parliament, Alban Bagin, to reject the recall request made by members of the Parliament of the ruling New Patriotic Party. In fact, they said the procedural requirements were not met. Barrister, maybe you help Africans and of course Nigerians understand this. The process of recall for parliament members, do you see it as one easy process? Let's use Nigeria as a case study before we go to Ghana. Is that process that easy, the process of recall?
It is not, and it was deliberate. Seriously, it is not, and it's deliberate because the lawmaker, whenever they enter into office, if they manage to wangle their way into office, they see it as a court or a secret society, whereby whatever they do is shrouded in secrecy. They protect themselves while they are there. They protect themselves. That is why they don't even call themselves to order. No matter what they do or say in the hallowed chambers, you cannot even prosecute them for what they are doing inside there. So the recall is not easy. Okay. Even though if you look at it, they will say it's to maintain the stability and sanctity of the National Assembly so that they can do their job, But if you are not performing, if you are not representing your people well, they have the right to recall.
I was really going to ask that. If you're not performing, why then should you remain in the house?
That is why I'm telling you that they deliberately put a lot of stumbling block on the way, so that when they're mandated to enter there, you that send them there, no matter how bad they are performing, you can't do anything. until they finish their term and come out.
And of course, that would be in the election day.
Of course, election day.
Now, look,
At that, they will still manipulate the election.
Okay, now, the call from the opposition, I beg your pardon, the ruling party to the Speaker of Parliament in Ghana to recall a particular parliament member, isn't this trying to cow down the opposition going into the next election, which is just a few days from now in Ghana?
Now, it depends on what the man did. If it is an offense that is backed by law, then the law should take its course. That's the truth. If actually the man was properly suspended according to their laws, why would anybody break his or her head? It allowed the law to take its course so that there will be deterrent. Okay. It is an indication that this law, even though they are lawmakers,
yes,
they are not immune from the law. They are not. It's a good development in that aspect because lawmakers can, if you don't do it that way, they may not claim to be even above board. Whatever they do, nobody will talk. Nobody will say that after they are lawmakers. No. No matter how lawmaking experience you have, the moment you have committed the infraction, you must go in for it.
Okay. Now, Barrister, let's look at the law that, precedes a recall. Is there the possibility that there can be a rejigging of that law? And of course, who can have that rejigging process done even in the Constitution?
Now, David,
sir,
if you are trying to rejig a law, you don't just make somebody a scapegoat. It must be holistic, okay, so that somebody will not feel targeted. That's the difference here. You can't just wake up and begin to rejig a law because of somebody. You must rejig the law based on the prevailing circumstances.
Okay.
So that people will fall in line. If you do it that way, you might look at you are witch-hunting somebody. That is the way I look at it.
As difficult as the recall process is, Barrister, can that process be tweaked to a more easier way for the people to at least have some confidence that if our representative is not doing well, we can recall him as soon as we can?
Please, you see, governance is not a tea party. When you are in government, you are going to offend, in fact, you are going to step on toes, either as a lawmaker or as executive. Now, look at it this way. Imagine if you have put a law that makes it very easy for your lawmaker to be recalled. I am telling you, within 24 hours, half of that lawmaking body will be recalled. Because somebody must have grievances against somebody in that house.
True.
Good. So, you mean if you just feel like grief or you don't like the face of the man who is making love for Isaiah, recall him. If the man will just say something that you don't even understand, you say, recall him. So there must be reason for you to call for recall. Even though that reason is not too important or too strong. That is the essence. That's why these people are being protected somehow.
But then
that there will be stability.
But then again, Barrister, if this lawmaker isn't speaking to the situation of his or her constituents, isn't that a much more enough reason to want to recall that lawmaker than allowing him stay for the entire period of his or her tenure?
You have to manage him until during the election. You now do the needful. That's what we are saying here. Majorly for stability in the house and for sanity to prevail. If you begin to recall all of them, that means the process of lawmaking will become cumbersome, if not impossible. Because the man will be fighting for his recall and all that. So how will he concentrate to make any law?
Now, Barrister, let's take it to the national level. The parliaments in Nigeria, a lot of persons have totally said that we are not having it good with them because they are not truly checking the executive as they are supposed to. Isn't this even worthy enough reason to ask questions with our parliament, Barrister?
You can only ask the questions and maybe criticize them, and then wait for them at the polls during the next election. That's all. That's all you can do. Because recalling them is like a fruitless effort. You remember they tried it with the Dino Malaya the other time.
Exactly.
And it ended in a cul-de-sac. So how do you want to try again? It's not possible.
Barrister.
Because it's the same National Assembly that will now have the final say. Remember?
Yes.
Two-thirds of the members of the same body will now decide whether he will go or not. And they will do everything to protect their own. It's as simple as that.
Now, protecting your own is where I'm going to end this conversation, but I'm going to also say this. We just heard the breaking that former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, has presented himself to the EFCC, and of course, what we hear now is that an arrest is imminent. Barrister, do you see this as some good news when it comes to fighting corruption by this administration?
In fact, they have embarrassed themselves with this Yahaya Bello case.
How do you mean by that?
EFCC have embarrassed themselves, seriously. I'm not joking, because
how do you mean?
How could a man show himself with the governor? You now say that he should go. Then now he has showed up again. Only God knows what will transpire between them and Yahaya Bello. Why is the man always at his own will? You know, he will just show up anytime he likes. Is that how they have been treating other people, other suspects? There is something they have not told us about Yahaya Bello and the way he's acting. Let's see whether they will pick him up or not. This time, I hope he did not come with Tinubu.
Oh, well, Barrister, the fact still remains that he was the one that went there. But then again, the question now would be, what do you think now would be the after reaction of this, him presenting himself?
He will face the law. Already there's a case against him. He go through the process of the law, and then let's see whether he will be exonerated or not. But if you ask me, EFCC have embarrassed themselves so much. Whatever happens now, the government is not, the people of this country, they are not amused. I'm telling you, they are not amused.
Barrister, some quarters have said that this is a sheer, there's a word I'm trying to use, indifferent kind of corruption fight.
Yes, it's a charade because they're not doing the right thing.
The former governor of Delta State, the person of Ifeanyi Okowa, also presented himself to the EFCC, and of course his documents were seized. And till this point, it is Yahaya Bello that is working to the EFCC office. What do you make of this? Do you also share that opinion as well?
Since the man has proved to be untouchable, maybe just going there to fulfill all righteousness. They may not even detain him. They may not even, treat him like a suspect. Because the last time he went there...
Even with all the allegations against him?
Yes, the last time he went there, we saw what happened. So, this time around, we only heard that he had gone there. We don't know whether they will detain him like they detained Okowa.
Oh, well.
Port Harcourt.
We will definitely keep an eye on all of that.
And we don't know whether somebody will make a call somewhere. Because, you cannot arrest a lion.
But then again, Barrister,
talk of a white lion.
We will definitely keep our eyes on that, and we assure all of our viewing audience that we will be giving you this information as it unfolds. We've been talking with Barrister Darlington Agumo, Voice of the People TV's in-house political analyst, and of course a barrister by law, during, of course, the analysis of the African news. Once again, Barrister, thank you so very much for coming on.
Thank you, David.
The rest of the African news will continue shortly just after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. 3 bodies were recovered on Tuesday morning from a tourist boat which capsized off Egypt's Red Sea coast, and rescue teams were still searching for 13 missing people. The Red Sea Provincial Governor, Amir Hanafi, has said the boat, the Sea Story, capsized on Monday near the Sataya Reef, carrying 31 tourists and 13 crew on a multi-day diving trip. It was struck by high waves and sank in 5 to 7 minutes. 16 passengers were believed to have been trapped inside, according to a Red Sea Governorate statement on Monday. 28 survivors were rescued with minor injuries, none requiring hospitalizations. Survivors were being accommodated in a hotel in Marsa Alam, where authorities were working with embassies and consulates to provide assistance and documentation. Hanafi said the boat had capsized in its last safety inspection in March 2024 with no technical issues reported. The boat, owned by an Egyptian national, was 34 meters long and had received a one-year safety certificate from the Maritime Safety Authority. The incidents occurred during rough weather conditions. The Egyptian Red Sea Port authorities reported wave heights of 3 to 4 meters, that's about 10 to 13 feet, and wind speeds of 34 knots in the area on Sunday, leading to the closure of maritime traffic. It was the second boat to sink in the area this year. In June, another vessel suffered severe damage from strong waves, though no casualties were reported. The Red Sea, renowned for its coral reefs and marine life, is a major hub for Egypt's tourism industry, which plays a crucial role in the country's economy. Meanwhile, South African authorities have shut down at least 10 foreign-owned spaza shops after a series of raids in Soweto found they had expired foods items and non-labeled goods. City of Joburg Economic Development, Nomoya Nimisi, who led the operation, said all shops raided were closed down. The raid followed a spat of food poisoning incidents that have claimed the lives of over 25 children since September. City of Johannesburg officials, accompanied by police, targeted shops in Dobsnovale and Dijklof, seizing expired food items and other non-compliant goods. One shop was even found to contain live ammunition. You're still watching the African News on Voice of the People TV. More stories in business and sports after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now to some business stories. In a major step forward for deepening trade in West Africa, the Economic Community of West African States has officially launched a digital certificate of origin system designed to streamline cross-border trade and boost economic integration across the region. The launch in Lagos, Nigeria, which saw participation from key stakeholders, was highlighted by a speech from Omar Aliyu Torre, President of the ECOWAS Commission, who emphasized the significance of the initiative in enhancing trade efficiency. Torre noted the global rise of free trade agreements as critical mechanism for economic growth, market creation, and the improved movement of goods. However, he acknowledged the unique challenges faced by developing and least developed countries, particularly in Africa, which often rely on border taxes for revenue but struggle with weak industrial capacities. The ECOWAS Commission President emphasized the importance of ensuring that goods benefiting from tariff preferences under free trade agreement meet the required origin standards. Meanwhile, still talking business, the EU is to increase its total earthquake aid to 1 billion euros. The European Union will provide a 190 million euro loan for reconstructing and rehabilitating earthquake-hit areas in Morocco. The funding will prioritize rebuilding homes, restoring essential public services such as healthcare and education, and reviving local economies. Morocco World News reported. The earthquake, which struck in September 2023, was the strongest in Morocco's history, registering a magnitude of 6.8. It caused nearly 3,000 fatalities and left over 6,000 persons injured. From business, we'll move straight to sports stories, where the Total Energies CAF Champions League group stage will kick off today. ES Tunis start their campaign by hosting Malian outfit Jaboli Ba AC in Group D. Speaking at a news conference, the newly appointed coach of ES Tunis cleared the air about the squad's readiness, saying that his players are ready for the game. Esperance de Tunis will be looking for a fresh start after their defeat in last season's CAF Champions League final. AS Tunis sits sixth in their domestic league table and are unbeaten in their last 4 games. Malian champions Jabol Liba AC are unbeaten since last May in all competitions, and they are also the first team from their country to reach this level of the competition. Still talking sports, Zambia and Orlando Pride forward Barbara Banda has been voted BBC Women's Footballer of the Year. She received the most votes from readers of the BBC Sports website after a 5-player shortlist was announced last month. The shortlist was based on performances from September 2023 to August 2024 and was selected by a large panel of experts involved in football around the world, including coaches, players, administrators, and non-BBC journalists. Banda scored 4 goals for Zambia at the Paris Olympics this season, including a first-half hat-trick against Australia to become the leading African goal scorer in Olympic history with 10 goals. She scored 13 goals for Pride in 2024 National Women's Soccer League regular season, despite only joining in March, and 4 goals in the playoffs, including the winning goal in the championship final as Orlando Pride won their maiden title. Banda was also named Most Valuable Player in the National Women's Soccer League. Spain and Barcelona's midfielder Aitana Bonmate came second in the voting, while USA and Portland Thorns forward Sophia Smith finished third. And with that, we've come to the end of African News on Voice of the People TV. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for joining us. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.